3 months into our arranged marriage, I sent a message to the powerful, intimidating CEO I barely knew. Want to see my little cutie? It's so pink and smooth. Julian took an unusually long time to type his reply. Okay. Half an hour later, when I showed him my pink pet snake, his ears turned bright red. He took off his custom designer suit jacket and used it to cover his lap. 3 months married to Julian. We exchanged fewer than 10 sentences a day. He slept in his bedroom, and I slept in mine. We were like a pair of strangers who just happened to be roommates. No talking unless absolutely necessary. Once, I accidentally used his bath towel. I was walking out of the bathroom wrapped in it when our eyes met. He was in the living room, tilting his head back to drink a glass of water. When he saw me, this gentle, refined CEO was so flustered he actually crushed the glass in his hand. Even the beauty mark near the corner of his eye seemed to turn a darker shade of red from the shock. I was so embarrassed my toes curled into the floor. I bit my lip. I wanted to say sorry, or my apologies. Instead, when I opened my mouth, I mumbled something like "so apologies." In the choice between social anxiety and social interaction, I'd somehow managed to achieve social suicide. Even though Julian and I barely interacted, his company was about to go public. Next month, there was a major economic summit we had to attend as a couple. We had to get comfortable with each other. I decided to start with texting. But what to talk about? I pulled out my phone and messaged Julian. Want to see my little cutie? It's so pink and smooth. My eyes drifted to the snake in the thermostat-controlled tank in my bedroom. I'll talk about my pet. The internet said you should start conversations with things you're familiar with. Couldn't go wrong. Julian took an unusually long time to type. Finally, he replied. Okay. His tone was a little flat. I have a meeting this afternoon. I'll see it tonight when I get back. At 4:30 in the afternoon, I watched as Julian rushed home from the office. I blinked. The sun was still high in the sky. This counts as tonight? Julian stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the light. He wore a soft, impeccably tailored white shirt, tucked into black trousers that accentuated his narrow waist and long legs. His suit jacket was slung over his arm. He was handsome, with a gentle, refined air. In internet terms, he gave off major husband material vibes. You're home early today. Yeah, after I got your texts, my efficiency shot way up. The meeting wrapped up smoothly. I had no idea what the logical connection was between those two things. But Julian's voice was clear and warm, and it put me at ease. I found myself naturally saying the words I had practiced over and over. Then let's go to my room to see the little cutie. Julian's voice was a bit hoarse as he undid the top button of his shirt with one hand. Hold on. I'm going to take a shower first. Why would you need a shower to see a snake? I tried to understand him. When I watch horror movies, I really want to see them, but I'm also scared, so I'll find little things to do to procrastinate. I tilted my head and said considerately, if you're scared, you can just take a quick look. You don't have to force yourself to touch it. Julian's gaze fell on me, and his amber eyes curved into a gentle, polite smile, just like always. I'm not scared. It's just, I want to be fully prepared. The light streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows made his ears glow red. I think he was just trying to act tough. I tried to comfort him in a small voice, don't worry, it doesn't bite. And it's so smooth and soft, it wouldn't even hurt if it did. My pet snake was pink and non-venomous. Julian's eyes darkened, his voice growing husky, you can let it bite me. I was completely baffled. Julian seemed so gentle and refined, but he had this kind of hobby? I didn't get it, but I respected it. My voice was a little eager as I wrung my hands. Don't take a shower. Let's just look at it now. I wanted to get the social interaction over with. The longer he showered, the more nervous I got. Julian lowered his long lashes and paused for a moment. Okay. We walked into my bedroom, one after the other. This was the first time he'd ever been in my room. The little snake was in a tank in the corner, covered with a cotton cloth. Snakes are a bit sensitive to light. I went to draw the curtains. The room plunged into darkness. It was so quiet, I could hear Julian's restrained breathing. Should I turn on the light? He asked suddenly, his fingers unconsciously stroking the suit jacket in his hand. Turn it on. You'll be able to see it more clearly. The moment the light flickered on, I looked up and met his slightly darkened gaze. It was as if a crack had appeared in his gentle facade, revealing a suppressed desire beneath. His voice was deep as he stepped closer. Lily, I've waited for this day for a long time. I blinked. He really wanted to see a snake that badly? His gaze was so intense my face started to feel hot. I stiffly turned away. When you're nervous, you find ways to keep busy. Julian leaned in close, as if he couldn't hold back any longer. Lily, I like. My little cutie. I summoned all my energy, an introvert faking extroversion, and enthusiastically whipped the cloth off the tank. His Adam's apple bobbed, and a flash of confusion crossed his eyes. Then he quickly recovered. He used the jacket in his hands to cover the front of his trousers. He did it so discreetly that I didn't notice anything was wrong. I thought maybe my little snake wasn't cute enough. Are you disappointed? Julian took a deep breath and put his perfect, gentle smile back on. Not at all. It's just as cute as I imagined. He was talking about the snake, but his eyes were fixed on me. Once I started talking about my snake, I couldn't stop. I got more and more excited. Its name is Bracelet. It's 3 years old. It especially loves to eat chicken. Julian listened patiently, a pair of focused, peach blossom eyes fixed on me. Gentle, charming. Completely different from what I had imagined before I married him. My father forced Julian to marry me. 3 years ago, he was starting his business and needed capital. My father saw his chance and went to him. I can give you the money, on the condition that you marry my daughter. It was a blatant power move, like something out of an old story where a powerful family snags a promising graduate for their daughter. Julian needed the money urgently back then, so he nodded and signed the papers. The day we registered our marriage, I kept my head down the entire time, terrified of seeing the disgust in his eyes. After all, who would want to marry a stepdaughter who was forced upon them? Julian was so handsome and capable. If he was also a good person, a perfect marriage prospect like this would have gone to my father's biological daughter, Emily. How could it have ever fallen to me, the stepdaughter? I entered the marriage filled with anxiety. But to my surprise, Julian was incredibly gentle. He always had a smile on his face when he spoke to me. He was thoughtful, considerate, and knew his boundaries. What on earth was my father thinking, arranging such a good marriage for me? Then I remembered my stepsister, Emily. She had gone to study abroad against my father's wishes and hadn't been back in 2 years. My father probably couldn't persuade her anyway. After we looked at my little snake, Julian still went to take a shower. Just as he was about to leave, I stopped him. Wait. I gathered my courage. Did you notice anything different about me today? Julian paused, then pretended to look embarrassed. I didn't notice. I sighed, a little disappointed. Oh, okay. But, he suddenly leaned in, a smile twinkling in his eyes. It seems like you talked a bit more today. He looked at me seriously. Talk more. I like listening to you. When I heard the shower start, I crouched next to the tank, pressing my hands to my burning ears. The little snake tilted its head at me, its tongue flicking in and out. Bracelet. I poked its little pink head. He complimented me. I couldn't hide my joy. Our social interaction went great. I've taken the first step. The public banquet next month should go smoothly, right? That night, I was woken up by a sound. The lock on the tank was loose. I stared at the empty tank, my mind buzzing. Where's my snake? The tank couldn't have opened by itself unless someone had touched it. My heart seized up. I dropped to the floor, checking under the bed, behind the curtains. Nothing. My fingers trembled, and a chill ran down my spine. What if it slithered into Julian's room? I looked up. Across the living room, his door was ajar, open just a crack. It's over. I bit my lip, my bare feet cold on the floor as I crept over in the dark. Julian? I called out softly. No response. Only the sound of even breathing from the room. Good, he's fast asleep. I breathed a sigh of relief. I tiptoed inside. By the faint moonlight from the window, I got on my hands and knees, sticking my butt in the air as I did a carpet-level search. Under the bed, in the closet, inside his slippers. Nowhere. Where was the snake? Then it hit me. Snakes are cold-blooded, they love to crawl into warm places. Like, under the covers. With a trembling hand, I gently lifted the corner of the blanket and reached inside, bit by bit. Please don't wake up, please don't wake up. I touched it. A handful. Warm, long, slightly throbbing, but this wasn't right. It was a little fatter than bracelet. My fingertips instinctively curled, then tentatively squeezed again. A low, muffled groan came from above my head. I froze. This probably wasn't a snake. Lights on. Julian was awake. He calmly activated the voice-controlled lights. The sudden brightness flooded the room, making me squint. On Julian's collar, I saw the tip of Bracelet's tail. It had crawled inside his pajamas. The red snake tail brushed against his neck, its tip pointing at his prominent Adam's apple. How sensual. So what was I holding in my hand? I snatched my hand back like I'd been electrocuted, my ears burning. I wanted to fall to my knees and apologize to Julian. I'm so sorry, so sorry. I'll get it out right now. No wonder he could build a business from scratch and become a CEO at such a young age. Waking up in the middle of the night with a snake coiled on his body and me standing by his bed, he didn't show the slightest hint of panic. He propped himself up, his voice still raspy from sleep. Accidents happen. It's fine. In the lamplight, his pajama collar was loose, revealing a firm chest. Bracelet's scales shimmered under the warm light, making his skin look even paler. I'll get it out right now. I steeled myself and reached out. The moment my fingertips touched the snake's tail at his collar, Julian let out a soft hiss. It's wrapped on a little tight. He looked up, a smile in his amber eyes. It would be easier if you just reached inside to get it. I swallowed hard, staring at the open collar of his pajamas, his handsome Adam's apple, the prominent veins on the side of his neck, his collarbones, the shadows formed by his pecs. I had never touched a man's body before. This wasn't getting a snake. This was getting me killed. As I hesitated, he let out a soft grunt. Julian hummed, his voice hoarse, I think it's crawling down. Damn it. I steeled my resolve and knelt by the bed. I closed my eyes and plunged my hand inside his collar. My senses were infinitely magnified. The silk pajamas were smooth, the snake scales were smooth, and his skin was the smoothest of all. My fingertips accidentally brushed against a certain raised point. Julian shivered almost imperceptibly. Sorry. I panicked. I didn't do it on purpose. But Julian just smiled gently. It's okay. Take your time. But his voice was trembling. He must be in a lot of pain. I quickly pinched Bracelet right behind its head. I yanked my hand out, pulling my disobedient child out of his pajamas. Bracelet flicked its tongue, looking completely innocent. It had no idea it had just broken its poor mother's back. You're getting starved for 3 days. I held Bracelet and made it bow 90 degrees with me, apologizing to Julian. I am so sorry. I'll be sure to teach it a lesson when we get back. Just as I was about to leave, Julian suddenly hissed and stopped me. Lily. What's wrong? I spun around. Julian frowned, pressing his fingers to his hip bone. I think I got bit. I instantly panicked. Bit where? I'll call a doctor right now. Julian calmed me down. No need. He gave a weak smile. Red-banded snakes are non-venomous. It's nothing serious. I just need to clean the wound. He was so sweet, I could cry. Even at a time like this, he was still comforting me. Bracelet wriggled in my hand. I realized something wasn't right. I was confused. Bracelet never bit anyone. Why was it acting so strange today? You should go get some rest. I can handle this myself. Under the light, Julian's face was pale, with beads of sweat on his forehead. My suspicions were washed away, replaced only by guilt. No. Where's the wound? I'll help you take care of it. Julian's eyelashes fluttered, and he turned his face away. It's in an awkward spot. What's so awk? The words caught in my throat. His hand was resting on the edge of his pajama pants, and 2 inches lower was. There. I had to clean up the mess my troublemaking child made, even if it meant getting on my knees. I quickly put Bracelet back in its tank in my room and closed the door. Then I grabbed the first aid kit and rushed back to Julian's room. In front of me, Julian hooked his long fingers on the waistband of his pajama pants and slowly pulled them down. Inch by inch, his firm stomach was revealed. My gaze froze as if I'd been burned. Below his taut waistline, the V-lines of his hips disappeared into shadow. Further down, the fabric of his pajama pants was stretched tight, outlining a clear shape. It was so full. The snake I had touched in the dark earlier was this. Right here. Julian's voice was low and husky, and he tapped a spot on his left hip bone. 2 tiny red marks were indented next to a vein on his abdomen, surrounded by a faint redness. They stood out starkly. It really did look like a snake bite. Being stared at by me, the spot seemed to get even fuller. Challenge, don't look there. Start. I fumbled for the ointment, my fingernail almost failing to pry open the lid. Don't be nervous, he chuckled, his Adam's apple bobbing. It's just a surface wound. I finally managed to open the ointment. I dabbed a little on my fingertip and carefully applied it. The ointment was cool, and the moment it touched his skin, his abs tensed up, the lines becoming even more defined. What did the veins on his abs connect to? I didn't dare to guess. Does it hurt? I asked softly, gently rubbing in circles with my fingertip. It doesn't hurt, his voice was huskier than usual, as if he was suppressing something. You can keep going. The ointment melted into a transparent film on his skin. I instinctively leaned closer and blew on it lightly. And then, I saw it clearly. The fabric of his pajama pants was pushed up even more obviously. It was impossible to ignore. My hand trembled, and the cotton swab fell onto the bed. Sorry, Julian suddenly pulled the blanket over his lap, his ears red as blood, but his voice remained steady. It's a physiological reaction. I can't control it. I know, my eyes darted around, my cheeks burning. It's normal. Did someone turn up the heat? It's so hot. Julian leaned in, slowly closing the distance between us. He reached out, his fingertips almost touching my cheek. Do you hate this? I shook my head. Not really. His eyes instantly darkened. He gently brushed his thumb over my lower lip, his voice low and almost seductive. Lily, can I kiss? I turned my head away. If you really want to, you can find someone else. A flash of pain crossed Julian's eyes. He pulled back a little. He slowly withdrew his hand, his fingers hovering near my cheek before curling into a restrained fist. Do you hate me that much? I bit my lower lip and shook my head. Julian's tense shoulders visibly relaxed. The shadows in his eyes dissipated, replaced by an almost bewitching gentleness. Then why tell me to find someone else? We're husband and wife. I'm afraid. I clutched the hem of my pajamas, my voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz. I won't be good at it. After all, our marriage was just an arrangement. There was no emotional foundation. I stiffened up at a simple hug, let alone. I'd probably just tremble with nerves. I wouldn't be able to satisfy him. It would be more convenient for you to find someone else, I added in a small voice, looking down. I really don't mind. For the first time, Julian's expression turned stern. I don't need anyone else. His thumb pressed against my lips, stopping the words I was about to say. I can wait. Wait for, what? For you to be ready. He leaned in, his lips almost brushing my ear. The hot breath he exhaled made my ear itch. Just send me a message. I asked, trembling, what should I send? Just send. I want you. His voice was so low and husky, each word rolling over my eardrums, each one hot enough to make my heart race. He had me so bewitched I almost forgot which way was up. I pinched my thigh hard to clear my head. I wanted to tell him, you might be waiting forever, but when I looked up, I was stunned by the stubborn look in his eyes. Lily. His expression suddenly turned serious. His long fingers gently lifted my chin, forcing me to meet his gaze. He used the gentlest tone to say the most explicit thing, I only want to sleep with my wife. For such a refined man to say something so blunt, I must have really hit a nerve. I could only nod, my face beat red. Okay. After applying the ointment, I practically fled back to my room. I slid down the back of the door, my heart pounding so hard and fast it felt like it would burst out of my chest. I only want to sleep with my wife. Julian's words replayed in my mind over and over. Oh my God, how did things escalate to this point? Just this morning, we were just a couple of roommates breaking the ice by looking at a snake. And tonight, remembering the feeling of his skin under my fingertips, I buried my face in my hands. That part of him was completely at odds with his gentle appearance. If we really ended up in bed. I shook my head hard, trying to banish those lustful images from my mind. I can't be fooled by Julian's gentle facade. Does he really like me? This month, my father's company ran into trouble. He asked me to beg Julian for help. I forced myself to bring it up with Julian. He clearly could have helped, but he just coolly refused. Lily, stay out of this. When my father found out, he blew up. You can't even handle one man? What's the point of marrying you off to him? Which one was the real him? I looked at the tank, the lock was perfectly fine. How did the snake get out? Unless Julian let it out on purpose? But I'm a full-time manga artist with a chaotic schedule. How could he have timed it so perfectly to come into my room and release the snake? And what if he had stolen bracelet, but I hadn't woken up? Was he planning to sleep with a snake all night? Impossible. My gut instinct was to trust Julian. He had no reason to do something like that. The tank must not have been closed properly. It had to be. Ever since the bracelet incident, Julian was officially diagnosed as a snake enthusiast. He came to my room every day like clockwork to play with the snake for an hour. Lily, how many mice did it eat today? Lily, what temperature does it like? Lily. He had an endless stream of questions. But it was a blessing in disguise. We started talking more and getting closer. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the economic summit. When I appeared on Julian's arm in a white gown, the camera flashes nearly blinded me. The daytime events went smoothly. Smiling, nodding, taking questions from reporters, exchanging business pleasantries. We played the part of a loving couple to perfection. But at the evening banquet, I lost my nerve. Julian was pulled away by some major shareholders to discuss business. I was left alone to deal with a room full of guests. Even worse, I had to give a speech on stage later. The hand holding my note cards was shaking uncontrollably, my mind filled with memories of being publicly ridiculed in the past. Would it happen again this time? Well. If it isn't Julian's wife. That snide, sarcastic voice, a chill went down my spine. I turned to see Fiona and Megan. Emily's most loyal followers, the nightmares of my school days. Fiona swirled her wine glass, her eyes scanning me up and down. Now that you've latched onto a big shot like Julian, we hardly ever get to see you. I hear you're giving a speech for Julian's company later. Try not to start stuttering when you get nervous, like you used to. Fiona leaned in, her perfume so strong it made my head spin. Lily, do you remember what happened before? She was deliberately bringing up bad memories. That time at the pool party, you accidentally fell in the water and choked until your face turned white. Megan chimed in. Your sister said you were throwing up for days afterward. It was hilarious. I clenched the fabric of my dress tightly. What accident? They were the ones who pushed me in, a line of them standing on the edge of the pool laughing as I choked on the water. I wanted to argue, but the words were stuck in my throat. I couldn't squeeze out a single one. What's wrong? You're Julian's wife now, can't even speak. Your dad's company is about to go bankrupt, and Julian won't even lift a finger to help. Anyone can see he doesn't like you. No amount of faking being in love is going to change that. Who would genuinely like a socially awkward girl who can't even string a sentence together? Oops. Fiona suddenly lost her grip on her wine glass. Red wine splashed all over my white dress, spreading into a large stain. What do we do now? She exclaimed, covering her mouth dramatically. I hope you aren't mad. The eyes of all the surrounding guests turned towards us. My breathing became shallow, my vision went black. It was like I was being pushed back into that pool, water flooding my nose, the feeling of suffocation overwhelming me. I was struggling desperately in the water, but no one reached out a hand. Lily. A deep voice cut through the noise. Before I could even turn around, a large, warm hand was already gently wrapped around my waist. Julian took off his suit jacket and draped it over my wine-stained white dress. He leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Don't be afraid. I'm here." After calming me down, Julian looked up, his eyes terrifyingly cold. He took a glass of champagne from a waiter's tray and poured it over Fiona's head. The entire room fell silent. Fiona's shoulders trembled, but she didn't dare make a sound. Julian slowly wiped his fingers with a handkerchief. Miss Fiona. I hear your father is bidding on the East Side project recently. If my company were to pull its investment from yours, would your cash flow still hold up? Fiona's face went white. She immediately started apologizing. I'm sorry. Julian didn't waste any more words on her. He waved over security. These two ladies aren't feeling well. Please escort them out. And from now on, they are not welcome at any event involving my company. Everyone's eyes were glued to us. The gossips were out in full force, no matter the occasion. Julian looked down at me, his features instantly softening. Were you scared? I shook my head, my nose stinging. His eyes darkened, filled with concern. He leaned in, as if he couldn't stop himself. Lily, he said, his voice low and husky, everyone is watching us. My eyelashes fluttered. Before I could react, his presence enveloped me. Was he going to kiss me in front of everyone? Why? To prove to everyone that we were a loving couple? Just before our lips met, he stopped. His eyelashes lowered, his gaze unreadable. He seemed to be asking silently, "Is this okay?" He smelled faintly of mint. It was a nice smell. In a rush of blood to the head, I instinctively wrapped my arms around his neck, tilted my head up, and kissed him. Julian's lips were even softer than I imagined, with a faint taste of mint. The sound of good-natured cheers from the crowd faded into background noise. Julian's hand rested firmly on the small of my back, as if telling me, I'm here. No one can hurt you. The kiss was brief. In front of the guests, Julian was very restrained. When we pulled apart, Julian naturally took my hand. When I didn't pull away, he immediately pressed his advantage, lacing our fingers together. In a great mood, he smiled at the entire crowd. My apologies for the interruption. And now, I'd like to invite my wife to say a few words. Oh, you little. This man kisses me 1 second and throws me to the wolves the next. I took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage. Under the brilliant lights, the wine stain on my white dress was especially glaring. The note cards I had prepared were soaked and ruined. The words were a blurry mess. But when I met Julian's gentle gaze, miraculously, I wasn't afraid anymore. Even though I was a mess, no one in the audience dared to laugh. No one dared to whisper. Because Julian was standing in the front row, watching me with a calm expression. His presence was so strong, like an invisible shield, blocking out all the malice. I gripped the microphone. Thank you all for being here. My voice was trembling. But no one interrupted me. No one coughed on purpose. Gradually, my voice grew steadier. The words I had practiced over and over finally came out smoothly and coherently. It turned out I wasn't incapable of speaking, I wasn't born with social anxiety. I was just so scared. Scared of saying the wrong thing, of being laughed at, of having no one to back me up. When did it start? It seemed to be after my mom remarried into a wealthy family, and I became the extra person in the house. My stepfather's daughter, Emily, and her little clique of followers stole every friend I had, tore up my homework, and pushed me into the pool. When I crawled out, soaking wet, they stood on the edge and laughed hysterically. When I got home, my mom just glanced at me and frowned. What trouble did you get into now? No one asked if I was hurt. No one dried my hair for me. Later, my biological parents each had new children of their own. I wasn't even extra anymore. Thank you, everyone. As my speech ended, a single, crisp clap rang out. Julian stood in the front row, a smile on his lips, clapping for me slowly and deliberately. Gradually, the applause grew into a wave. His eyes were so beautiful. The amber pupils reflected the lights, like a warm lake filled with stars. My heart was pounding. So this is what it feels like to have someone in your corner. A strange thought popped into my head. If my first time was with Julian, maybe it wouldn't be so scary. In fact, I was even a little excited. After speaking publicly at the banquet, my social anxiety lessened. I started acting more and more naturally around Julian. I was looking for the right moment to tell him that I wanted him. Before I had the chance, Julian booked out an entire rooftop hotel space for us. The rooftop had a swimming pool, and it was cleared out just for us. I was nervous. Was our first time going to happen here? The rooftop overlooked the most brilliant nightscape of the entire city. Beautiful flowers and trees were planted around the pool. The glittering surface of the water reflected the lights and the shadows of the flowers. The atmosphere was perfect. But maybe, a little too stimulating. Julian walked towards me, step by step, and looked down with a gentle smile. I'm going to teach you how to swim. Huh. So he had heard it that day. What Fiona said about them pushing me into the pool and me choking on the water. This kind of emotional attentiveness was somehow even more seductive than physical contact. My ears turned bright red. But I didn't bring a swimsuit. Don't worry. The hotel has some. 5 minutes later, I was changed in the locker room. The person in the mirror was wearing a light pink swimsuit. Pink straps were tied around a slender, pale neck. Looking down, every curve was perfectly fitted. My face was burning hot. How did Julian know my measurements so precisely? When I came out in my swimsuit, Julian was already in the water. Wet hair, lean muscles, broad shoulders, long legs. He had a nearly perfect male physique. His black swim trunks hugged his toned backside and the front of him. Looking through the water, the view was constantly distorted by the ripples. I pinched my thigh hard. Lily, calm down. This is your legal husband. It's okay to look. When Julian saw me, his eyes lit up with admiration. He smiled and held out his hand. Don't be afraid. I'll catch you. I carefully slid into the pool. The cool water rose to my waist, and a pair of warm, large hands securely supported me. "Relax," he breathed into my ear. It tickled. I tried to spread my arms, and my body floated to the surface. Julian's hand stayed on my waist the whole time. The water lapped against our bodies, over and over, rising and falling. It felt like a rehearsal for a certain private act. It was too intimate. My heart was beating so fast it nearly drowned out the sound of the water. I floated on the surface, held gently by Julian, looking at the reflections of the flowers and lights on the water. I felt safe and relaxed. In a rush of blood to the head, I felt an inexplicable urge to confide in him. "You know, my sister, she used to always take my things." His thumb unconsciously stroked the small of my back. "Like what?" "My mom, my friends, even." "Even what?" His movement stopped. "My first love." Julian's hands loosened a little. With a splash, water flew everywhere. The smile on his lips faded. "Honey," his voice was laced with a dangerous hint of jealousy, "you're married and still hung up on your first love?" I lied without thinking. I forgot all about him. He raised an eyebrow and softened his voice. "What was his name?" "Wait, no, 3. Ethan." The air instantly froze. The next second, the hand supporting me suddenly let go. "Ah!" I panicked and threw myself at him, my legs instinctively wrapping around his waist, clinging to him like an octopus. We were pressed tightly together. His warm chest, his taut abs, and a certain obvious change. "Julian." I hit his shoulder, my face red. "Sorry," he chuckled, his hands cupping my butt and lifting me up a bit. My hands slipped. This position. My face instantly caught fire. I could clearly feel every inch of change in his body. "Julian." I'm here." I finally found my chance to tell him. "If my first time was with you, it doesn't seem so scary." His breathing suddenly hitched, but he deliberately played dumb. "Your first time swimming?" I wanted to die of embarrassment. I buried my face in the crook of his neck. "You know what I mean." I know." I started actively preparing for my first time with Julian. "First time, what should I prepare?" I typed the words into the search bar, then deleted them, blushing. In the end, I only dared to search for newlywed couple tips. Blushing furiously, I followed a guide and ordered some newlywed battle attire. 3 days later, the package arrived. The actual item was even thinner than it looked in the product photo. It weighed almost nothing in my hands. I hid in my bedroom and tried on a pink, lace, open-work nightgown. The bow on the side could be untied with a single gentle pull. My ears burned as I couldn't help but wonder. What would Julian's reaction be when he saw me in this? He was so gentle. Would he slowly untie the dress and let it slide off, or would he be so stimulated that he'd just rip it open? A red circle on my phone's calendar reminded me that tomorrow was our 100-day wedding anniversary. I took a deep breath and, with trembling fingers, sent the message we had agreed on. "I want you." The moment the message sent, my phone vibrated. My heart skipped a beat. He should be at work right now. How did he reply so fast? I excitedly clicked on it and saw the message. My heart sank. It wasn't a reply from Julian. It was from Emily. "Dearest sister, I'm back in the country." In an instant, the water from the pool all those years ago rushed back into my lungs. Emily's messages kept coming. "Fiona told me what happened at the banquet. Feeling pretty proud of yourself with Julian protecting you, huh? Too bad he couldn't even save Dad's company. Useless. I had to come back myself to negotiate with Julian." She sent an airport selfie, her red lips curved into a smile. "Guess what? Do you think Julian will choose me, just like everyone else?" I stared at the screen until my eyes ached. "No, he won't. Julian said he only wanted me." He's not like the others. I trust him. The screen lit up again. This time, it was Julian. Lily, something came up at work tonight. I can't get away. Be good and go to sleep early. My nose stung, and a tear splashed onto my phone screen. Was it really something at work? Or had he gone to see Emily? Julian, are you going to leave me too, just like everyone else? I curled myself into a small ball, tucked into the corner of the living room sofa. My knees were pressed against my chest, my hand gripping my phone tightly. The minute hand on the wall clock went around and around. Emily sent another picture. She and Julian were in a restaurant. The lighting was intimate. He was leaning his head down slightly, as if listening to her speak. My fingertips trembled, and my throat tightened. Liar. What happened to working late? What happened to only wanting me? Tears splashed onto the screen, blurring the image. I sniffled and sent Julian a message. I know everything. What time are you coming back? We need to talk. The moment I hit send, I regretted it. Talk about what? About his dinner with Emily? About why he lied to me? Or about, what exactly were we? My heart twisted into a knot, but I still held on to one last shred of hope. What if there was a misunderstanding? What if he really did care about me? A moment later, Emily sent a video. I clicked on it. My pupils contracted in shock. In the surveillance footage, Julian's tall body loomed over Emily. He was choking her. His face was dark, his voice sharp and vicious. If you dare tell Lily the truth, I'll kill you. I froze. Was this Julian? Immediately after, Emily sent a stream of evidence. The person who ruined Dad's company was Julian. He's a psycho. The last message dripped with sarcasm. You can't even see the true face of the man sleeping next to you. You're so stupid. My hands were shaking so much I couldn't hold my phone. The gentle Julian who protected me in public, who taught me how to swim, was it all an act? Why would he do this? Did he hate my father for forcing him to marry me? So he did all this to get revenge on my father? Was he going to get revenge on me, too? My mind was a complete mess. A voice message from Julian popped up. Lily, the meeting's over. Wait for me to get back. It was the same gentle voice, completely different from the man in the video. I hugged my knees tighter, suddenly realizing that this living room, which once felt so safe, now felt terrifyingly empty. The floor-to-ceiling windows reflected my pale face, like a fool trapped in a cage. Which one was the real Julian? The little snake in the tank was very active, slithering around its enclosure. A flash of white went through my mind. That night, how could it have been such a coincidence that Bracelet just happened to run into Julian's room and crawled into his bed? Unless... A terrifying thought rose in my mind. I picked up my phone. I had to call Ethan. Julian knew he was my first love. Hello? My voice trembled. Ethan, I'm so scared. Can you come pick me up? After I said it, I immediately hung up. My heart was about to leap out of my chest. I quickly opened the closet and pulled out a small suitcase. I haphazardly threw a few clothes inside. The sound of a keycard swiping at the front door. Julian was back. His footsteps were unhurried, each one landing on my last nerve. He was coming to my bedroom. Would the same hands that choked my sister choke me too? Thump. I kicked the suitcase under the bed. The door opened. Julian stood in the doorway, his suit and tie immaculate. In the warm light of the room, the hand he held on the doorknob was long and clean, like a work of art. But not long ago, those beautiful hands had choked Emily until her face turned blue. Lily, he smiled as he walked closer. What are you busy with? And nothing. I clutched the corner of my shirt, forcing myself to stay calm, and instinctively backed away from him. Did he see me packing? He looked up, a bewitching smile on his face. "Lily, I saw your message." My chest heaved, but I kept my composure. "Yes. I need to be clear with you. Why did you go see my sister? Why did you frame my father and ruin his company?" Julian moved closer, trapping me against the bed. "The message said you wanted me." His fingertips hooked the thin nightgown lying on the edge of the bed, a sensual motion. My chest rose and fell dramatically. I had wanted him. Before I found out he lied to me to go see Emily. Before I knew he destroyed my dad's company. I sent it by mistake. I reached out to grab the nightgown. In the struggle, thump, my ankle hit the suitcase under the bed. Julian's eyes were fixed on the suitcase. "You're leaving me." It wasn't a question. It was a statement. I bit my lip and said nothing. Julian grabbed my wrist. "You're going to Ethan, aren't you?" His gentle mask began to crack. His eyes were red, his breathing heavy, like a beast about to lose control. "I'm not leaving. You're hurting me." "Liar." The disguise in his eyes completely shattered, revealing a terrifying possessiveness underneath. "Lily, you need to remember, we are husband and wife. Don't you dare think about going to another man." I looked up, meeting his devouring gaze, and cut right to the chase. "How did you know I was going to call Ethan? Are you spying on me?" A flash of panic crossed his eyes. The fingers gripping my wrist tightened, his knuckles turning white. He suddenly pushed me down onto the large bed behind me. He sounded like he'd given up. "So what if I am? You're not leaving me in this lifetime." I was trembling all over. "Why? You put cameras in my room. You let Bracelet out on purpose that day, didn't you? You saw on the monitor that I was asleep, so you came into my room, took Bracelet, and then used the sound from the monitor to wake me up so I'd go to your room to find the snake, right?" Julian's Adam's apple bobbed. He nodded, looking ashamed. "Yes." I continued to question him. "You deliberately ruined my dad's company to get revenge on him for forcing you to marry me, right? What are you going to do, keeping me by your side? Get revenge on me too?" "Julian, I feel like I've never really known you." Julian cut me off abruptly, as if he couldn't bear to hear me say that about him. "That's enough, Lily. It's not what you think." Julian's eyes were bloodshot. He closed my bedroom door, as if afraid I would run out. The wind from the closing door stirred the curtains, and moonlight streamed in. His face was obscured in the moonlight. I looked at him in disbelief. "You spied on me, and now you're going to imprison me? Do you hate me that much?" Julian couldn't meet my gaze. He pointed at the little snake in the tank, offering a weak excuse. "You keep the snake in that tank because you love it. It's the same for me, Lily. I love you." I had no idea what he was talking about. Pushed to the brink by my string of questions, Julian grabbed my shoulders and confessed everything. That financing contract was fake. I didn't need the money at all back then. It wasn't your father who forced me to marry you. It was me who forced him to let me marry you. I froze. "Why?" He suddenly laughed. A crazy kind of laugh, tinged with sadness. "Because you would never come to me on your own." The information overwhelmed me. This arranged marriage was Julian's plan all along? My expression was one of pure shock. Julian couldn't stand me looking at him like that. His eyes swirled with desperation and madness. "Don't look at me like that. It's not supposed to be like this between us. Tonight was supposed to be our first time." He ripped off his tie, his eyes filled with a completely unhinged madness. His body pressed down on me heavily. His lips crashed down on mine with a desperate, all-or-nothing force. He easily pinned both of my wrists above my head with one hand. The sound of tearing fabric was sharp and clear in the room. His kiss was fierce and urgent, as if he wanted to devour me whole. The burning kisses moved from my lips to the hollow of my neck, then left a heavy mark on my shoulder. "I'd rather you hate me." Then let you leave me. I struggled, but he held me down even tighter. Just as he was about to lose control completely, his fingers reaching for the hem of my dress, a single warm drop fell on my face. Was Julian crying? The violence and madness in his eyes instantly froze, as if someone had hit a pause button. In its place was a deep self-loathing. I'm sorry. He pulled the covers over me, gently wrapping me in them, his voice low and broken. I'm a monster. You could never love the real me, love a cold-blooded, obsessive monster who just wants to lock you away. His tears fell, thick and fast, onto my neck, a testament to their owner's despair and self-hatred. Julian. I called his name softly, my fingertips gently cupping his face. He looked at me, his eyes filled with tears and helplessness. The suitcase was empty. I mimicked his old, gentle tone. I was never going to leave. And I didn't call Ethan. I had only pretended to go to Ethan. I just wanted to confirm, if you really had installed a camera in my room. I gently wiped the tears from his lashes with my thumb. And now I've confirmed it. You're even crazier than I thought. Julian looked down, his voice so hoarse it was almost a whisper. You know I'm a monster. Aren't you afraid? I gently brushed my nose against his. Why would I be afraid? I finally understood the truth. He was only cruel to my stepfather and Emily, not to me. All my life, my parents divorced. Then my biological parents both had new children. No one wanted me. Emily took away my friends, one by one, making me lose faith in any kind of human relationship. But deep down inside, a secret desire I didn't dare face had formed. I longed for someone who would never, ever leave me. Remember? I gently kissed Julian's lips. I have a thing for cold-blooded creatures. Like snakes. And like you. Those last 3 words were like flipping a switch. Julian's last shred of reason snapped completely. In its place was a surging, scorching wave of desire. A hot kiss landed on me, filled with the frantic joy of having something lost returned. He was testing, bit by bit, whether his true self could also be loved by me. When all worldly pretenses had fallen away, his trembling fingers and hot, ragged breaths all said the same thing. He had waited for this moment for a very, very long time. Epilogue. Julian's epilogue. Growing up, Julian's mother always told him, "You're cold-blooded, just like your father." As a child, he didn't understand what that meant. He only vaguely guessed that his mother didn't like him very much. As he got older, he realized he lived in a dysfunctional family. His father, Richard Pay, was a calculating businessman for whom marriage was just another tool for profit. His mother was Richard's first love, but Richard had abandoned them for a strategic marriage, wedding a socialite from a family of equal standing. This made his mother a single mom, and him an illegitimate son who had to be hidden from the world. Day by day, his mother grew more depressed, more paranoid. She poured all her hatred for Richard onto him. "You have to be better than everyone else, so good that he'll regret abandoning us." But when he actually achieved it, first place in exams, winning piano competitions, getting into a top university, she would just look at him coldly and say, "See? You're becoming more and more like him." His mother loathed the traitor's blood that ran in his veins. This was how Julian grew up, twisted. On the surface, he was brilliant, gentle, and outstanding. Underneath, he was repressed and sick. He never understood what standard he had to meet to truly satisfy his mother. He only knew that once he set a target, he would use any means necessary to possess it and never let go. At least external honors, things he could hold in his hand, were certain. The first time he saw Lily was at a business gala. He had just started his company and desperately needed funding, but his father's legitimate son, his nominal brother, publicly humiliated him. An illegitimate son has the nerve to show up here looking for investors? The other man laughed contemptuously and deliberately smashed a piece of cake on his face. The entire hall of guests watched coldly. No one spoke up for him. Just as his knuckles were turning white and he was about to lose control, a red-banded snake silently slithered to his brother's feet. Ah! A snake! There's a snake! The man stumbled backward in fear, knocking over a champagne tower. He was 100 times more pathetic than Julian. The crowd panicked, but the instigator, a girl in a light pink dress, was pretending to be startled, her voice trembling as she warned, "Ah! The brighter the snake, the more venomous it is. And that one is so red." His brother's face turned pale, and he scrambled away, getting his legs cut up by the broken glass. Julian stood frozen. He was actually afraid of snakes, too. But in that moment, he couldn't take his eyes off her. Her fingers were clearly trembling with nervousness, yet she dared to use such a clumsy lie to scare someone. She was so socially anxious she was hiding in a corner trying to be invisible, yet she still stepped up to save him. In that moment, she was his only ally. Julian stared at the girl's small figure and heard his own heartbeat, deafeningly loud. From then on, he started watching her from the shadows. He learned her name was Lily, that she was the adopted daughter, and that she had a stepsister, Emily, who targeted her at every turn. She was as helpless as he was, socially anxious but not weak. The more Julian observed, the more he fell, wanting to possess Lily for himself. The market always recognizes value. Julian's company gradually grew. With capital came the power to defend and attack. He deliberately caused her stepfather's company to have a cash flow crisis, forcing him to marry his daughter off to him. When they registered the marriage, Julian lowered his eyes, hiding the dark current within. He needed the pretense of a forced marriage to make Lily think he was a victim, to make her walk into his world without any defenses. He signed the contract and gently played the part of a husband forced to marry her. He gave her plenty of space, not rushing to get close. But he had the house redecorated so that the entire villa had only one bathroom, in the living area. When he saw Lily emerge, wrapped in his towel and steamy from the shower, he was so thrilled he crushed the glass in his hand. He installed a camera in Lily's room. He tortured himself, resisting the urge to turn it on. Until the day Lily sent him that message. "Want to see my little cutie?" He couldn't take it anymore. He turned on the monitor, stole her little snake, put it in his own bed, and pricked his skin with a needle to fake a snake bite. He couldn't wait any longer. He planned every step, making the girl he loved walk toward him of her own accord. A new family. I started a webcomic about a possessive snake king. It was unexpectedly popular. Julian saw me drawing one day and hugged me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. He asked in a low voice, "This snake king, why does he look more and more like me?" I deliberately teased him. "He's not. He's way more fun than you." He chuckled, took my hand, and pressed it against his own bulging chest. "Does he let you play with him like this?" "Julian." I blushed and tried to push him away, but he scooped me up in his arms and kissed me against the desk. "He's still pathologically clingy. And I'm still pathologically enabling him. As for Emily and my stepfather, what do they have to do with me? I have a new family. He might have a cruel streak, but for me, he bows his head.